Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about some really cool mounted hero ideas for Star Wars Legion, considering that we are on the verge of lots of new racing hype and shenanigans with Mando and Grogu just around the corner and a new pod racing game also looming in close. It's a pretty good time to talk about certain things and how this could apply to Star Wars Legion. And everybody loves a good speculation video, so let's talk about this a little bit. Also, there is still time left to enter to win the latest $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. It's as simple as that. I was going through some of my videos recently, and I looked at some of the old speculation videos that I've done, and it's really cool looking at different ideas and saying, like, kind of comparing what did actually happen versus what hasn't happened yet or what might never happen. And it made me want to kind of revisit those, because a lot of the things that I think people were asking for, people were hyped for, things that I had asked for, things that other people had asked for, a lot of those had come to fruition. I'm not taking any credit for this because, again, these things are in the Star Wars universe. Anything in the Star Wars universe, given enough time, is likely to just show up in one game or another. So it just makes sense that certain things happened. Like, for example, again, our mounted Tauntaun commanders. We also got Obi-Wan and Anakin on bark speeders. That one wasn't one that I was specifically asking for, but Grievous on his bike. That's another really cool thing. We've seen a lot more mounted heroes, mounted commanders, mounted characters as a whole, and other non-mounted or other mounted characters that were non-heroes. So a lot of cool stuff like that has already happened, and it makes me think, boy, there's enough mounted stuff in there that it almost could lead to like another game mode, or almost could lead to just like a meta of a mounted meta, so to speak, or just fun, like maybe even a thematic unofficial thing, like, hey, like, let's all run as many mounts as we can. Call it Race Wars or something like that, or the Bunta Eve Classic, which would be really cool, especially if you design custom boards for it. A lot of cool stuff like this. So there's a lot that we could do, and it made me think, well, what's some other great mounted hero ideas that we haven't seen yet that would work really well? So let's talk about that. First one, Maul on the Sith speeder. I think that's a really cool one. Another way to get Maul mounted. He's usually not mounted very often, although sometimes you'll find him in his gauntlet fighter and things like that. But this was the first time that we saw him in action in episode 1, and he was riding this little bike that I think people thought was going to be a little bit more of a thing. And I do want to point out, if we get this, it'd be really funny. Like, if you've seen memes about, like, Maul, at this point in time, Anakin was nobody. He didn't know who Anakin was, and he was really coming after Qui-Gon. And to stop the princess and stuff, and he just decides to nearly run down this little kid that just happens to be walking. Like, tells you just what a bad guy Maul was. I feel like it'd be a really fun way to kind of paint this into like a command card or something like that. I don't know, like run down the youngling massacre or something like that. This is where Anakin learned it from, right? I don't know. It's a funny idea, but yeah, Maul on the speeder would totally work. I think it'd be a fun one. Now, I'm making this video. I haven't seen Mando and Grogu yet. Mando and Grogu are coming out later this week. We've already got tickets. We're going to see it. But it does make me think about Mando. Mando and Cobb Vanth on speeder bikes, or Mando himself on bikes. Mando rode on, like, in at least 2 different episodes in the Mandalorian show. So I could see him being on a speeder or a swoop or something like that. Like, it seems to work. Or on a blarg. I mean, there were a lot of blarg ridings and stuff. A lot of mounted stuff happened with Mando. Wouldn't surprise me if we eventually see Din Djarin mounted. And presumably there'll be something related to mounted characters with in Mando and Grogu. I mean, Grogu's already got a suit. It's not really a mount. I guess maybe it is. Let me know in the comments if you think Grogu's little IG-88 suit or IG-11 suit is a mount. It kind of is, right? I think it counts, but it walks though. So, like, does that? I guess that counts. But let me know your thoughts. Whether it counts or it doesn't count. Because, like, yeah, it doesn't kind of fit the race wars kind of theme that I'm doing for some of this. But I guess it doesn't have to be a super fast mount to be a mount. I mean, we've already got dewbacks, and they're not super fast either. So I guess that works. Speaking of fast, and speaking of speed, speaking of American graffiti, right? How about Han Solo and Kira in their little car and their police chase from Solo, a Star Wars story. We have surprisingly little from Solo, a Star Wars story in this game. And this would be a really great inclusion. It might be some challenges because, again, it's a whole car. It's not a little bike, so this would have to be something big. I think it would have to be probably like a transport or something that you do with like alternate like sculpts. Like you can put Han and Kira in there, or you can put like a regular like scum and villainy type person, or a regular just alien or whatever in there. So it can be like a generic transport, or it can be Han and Kira, and you have different unit cards for either one. Something like that would kind of work, and it'd be a cool way to kind of bring something from Solo, a Star Wars story, in here. Honestly, not a bad film. I'd probably need to watch it again. Just hit during a time, hit during a bad time, but I don't think it was a bad film. It had a lot of cool things going on with it. Definitely worth a rewatch. And if you've been watching Maul, then there are some ties back to this movie, and it does make me think it might be time to revisit Maul, and well, not just Maul, but Solo, a Star Wars story. Not a bad option. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe. Let me know what you think. We can't forget Luke and Leia on the speeder bike. Now, I'm curious how, if they were to do something like this, I'm curious how they might do it, because this is an interesting scene, an important scene from Return of the Jedi, very iconic. But we already have Luke and Leia, in multiple formats now. Well, Leia's really just multiple sculpts, but like Luke and Leia each ride a separate speeder bike, but then they're on the same speeder bike for a while also. And so like they start off on the same speeder bike, and then they eventually get on different ones. And like there's some cool things going on here. I wonder if they would do it like separate or together. And the thing is, I went with a photo of them together because I think that'd be a cooler way to do it, because you already have speeders. It's, there's not a whole lot. It was one of the first units ever in the game. It was in the core set, the original core set. So maybe you make it like a single speeder, but you give it better stats because it's both Luke and Leia on there. There's already a lightsaber on there. You're jamming comms and things like that. And it would just give you a way to have like two characters on one mount, and this way it could be maybe not really to the strength of the fact that it's a speeder, but maybe they have the idea where if you pull up alongside another speeder, Luke can jump off and take control of that one speeder, or something kind of cool like that. Like I don't know if they would really do that. I don't know if there's a game mechanical need for this, but it does represent another option, another way to get Leia out there in a different version. And that could be a cool, like a mechanically different Leia. That could be a cool thing too. Leia as an operative in this case. Maybe that's a way to do it. That's a thought. Let me know your thoughts. Of course, we've got to have the GOAT, Obi-Wan Kenobi, on the veractyl. Probably the coolest mountain, and he's ridden many things. Many things has he ridden. But the veractyl is definitely... It's probably the coolest, right? Probably. I'd love to see Obi-Wan on a veractyl. It would be big, though. I think of all the things Obi-Wan's ridden, this one has the widest profile. Obviously, sculpting would have to take some liberties here and kind of put it in a pose that makes it actually fit on a reasonable base. Because this thing was huge, but again, since it's biological, it doesn't have to have a static profile, so you could have it crouching, or you could have it like standing up, like it's jumping upwards. I imagine it'd be really fast. Oh man, there's so many cool things you could do with this, and it's easy to let it run wild and get completely out of control. The mobility that this would give Obi-Wan could be potentially massive. So you'd have to be like, all right, how do we not make this completely overpowered? I don't know. Not my decision to make. You guys figure it out. But I would love to see Obi-Wan on a veractyl. I think that would be really cool. Now, something else that I think when you were thinking about this, I think some of us forget, and we're only looking at things that are in the game now. But what about what's coming out in November? What are we getting previewed in November? The Ghost Crew. Well, since we're going to already have the Ghost Crew, what was Ezra known for, right? Ezra was, like, his strength in the Force was really slanted towards his connection with animals. And they rode loath wolves. Come on. this is an easy no-brainer. This is a gimme. This is an absolute gimme. I think we got to have this. The loath wolves. It's hard to say that really fast. Sort of just make it flow. You have to start with loath wolf, but you can't just like add it in the middle of a sentence. I mean, actually, I'm sure you're doing it right now and saying yes, Crabbok. I can add it into the middle of a sentence because I can speak normally, but I can't. I struggle. Right. So, Ezra. I think Ezra at least on a loath wolf would be good. Maybe Ezra and Sabine, maybe any of the Rebels characters that might need like an alternative version could also be on a loath wolf. Also, I said it that time. I did good. All right. So, but yeah, like there's a lot to explore here. This is probably obviously something that would be very distant in the future, but I think it's prime candidate for some cool Rebel riding activity. Let me know your thoughts. All right. So it is time to jump into a series that sometimes you love it or you hate it, or maybe you're somewhere in between. But the Book of Boba Fett, and we got to talk about the Scooter Gang, right? I mean, look, I know what you're thinking. You're like, no, or maybe you're like, yes, and I'm like, both. Sure. It was a choice. It was definitely a choice. I get the American Graffiti kind of early George Lucas roots inspired in this gang, and I see it, and I'm here for it. It's fine. It was also kind of, it was a thing. It was a little weird, right? Like their bikes were a little too shiny for tattoo. Like I feel like if they were more like subdued and it was more like rusted up and stuff, like it might have fit the motif a little bit better, but it didn't, right? It was, they really stood out. They felt like they didn't belong. I don't know if we'll ever see these. I don't know if we ever will, but it would be a thing, right? We'd get that guy on the red bike with like the spinny shot. Like this was just, I don't know, man. I wanted to include it because it feels like it belongs in this type of discussion. And I'm sure people are split right down the middle. Let me know if you are for or against the Scooter Gang showing up in Star Wars Legion. I don't know. I'll take it. I'll say this. They'd be very interesting to paint. Bust out those bright metallic paints that were always too bright for anything else. Bust them out. This is your opportunity to hit those brightest, shiniest metallic paints you've like enamel paints maybe or something. I don't know. Do something wild and crazy like you're doing nail polish. Do the Power Rangers squad. Let's do it. I don't know. It was very weird. But this is more or less in here to be a segue into the greatest mount of all time. If we don't get Boba Fett riding a Rancor, what are we doing? This has to come to the game, right? Like it has to. It's the coolest thing, and in my opinion, justifies all of Book of Boba Fett, right? Like, and again, you can feel free to disagree with that if you want. Some people have things they like and don't like about Book of Boba Fett. I choose to focus on the things that I really enjoy. And this, like that whole finale, especially this moment, was a very enjoyable thing to watch. It's wonderful. It's really fun. Also, if we're going to do more mounted stuff involving Boba Fett, I would love it if we get like a command card that deals with other mounted characters and it has like this art on it, the Leica Bantha meme. Like do the Leica, I mean, yes, you could also put like Boba on a speeder for the train heist, but I don't want that. I want Boba on the Rancor, right? But I want this on a command card. Leica Bantha should still be mentioned, right? Like it fits into the whole discussion. I want to hear some of your thoughts because there's a lot of really cool stuff that is potential for Star Wars Legion, and maybe we'll get full-blown, like, maybe we'll get a Boonta Eve Classic. Maybe we'll get little little Anakin, Ben Quadinaros, maybe we'll get all of it. Pod racing doesn't really fit in Legion, but maybe it could. Let me know your thoughts. That's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to share some awesome theory crafting on what might happen, what could happen, what would be fun. A lot of fun stuff potentially on the horizon, and I'm sure they have great things cooking under the hood. And we'll find out. There'll be another big event in November, followed by then next year's Adepticon for all of the latest and greatest. I'll be covering it all. Hopefully you guys stick around. Make sure you like the video, share the video, click that bell for alerts, subscribe, check the links in the description below. Jump in our Discord. Keep the discussion going there. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.